Now, don't answer this question out loud, but I want you to think about the answer. What do Jesus, Napoleon, Muhammad, William Shakespeare, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Adolf Hitler, Aristotle, Alexander, and Thomas Jefferson have in common? Anybody know that answer right off the bat? No. They all made the top 10 list of people published by Time magazine in 2013. A 2014 top list from MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, included Aristotle, Jesus, Alexander, Leonardo da Vinci, Julius Caesar, Homer, Archimedes, Mozart, Michelangelo, and Isaac Newton. And this year, in 2015, a list published by the Ranker community listed Jesus, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Muhammad, Aristotle, Galileo, Darwin, Gandhi, and Plato. Jesus made all three lists. Muhammad, Aristotle, Alexander, Leonardo, and Newton each made a top 10 list twice. Religious figures, philosophers, artists, and scientists dominated these lists. So just how did the people on these lists make the list? And I suppose it depends on who and when you ask. Who should be included on the list, and what was their ranking? What was the criteria for making any of these lists, and how in the world do you rank them? Is it the influence upon history? Is it popularity? Is it excellence in a particular field of endeavor? Is it qualitative or quantitative achievement? Or is it perceived greatness? If greatness is the criterion, how would you define it? In today's gospel, James and John, the sons of thunder, the moniker Jesus had given them, had greatness on their minds. They sought out Jesus and asked him to be on his right and his left when he entered into his glory. In a different gospel, their mother did the heavy lifting for them, and she asked Jesus about her sons. James and John were ambitious, and when the victory was won and the triumph was complete, they aimed at being Jesus' ministers of state. And why shouldn't they think this? Why shouldn't they be? After all, they were with him at his transfiguration. Jesus had made them part of his inner circle, the chosen ones. And when Jesus entered his glory, they were going to be right there with him. But they just didn't get it. Their notion of glory was counter to that of Jesus. You see, they envisioned the glory of political, civic, and military power, a supreme ruler. And they completely misunderstood the nature of Jesus' life and his ministry. Illustrative of this was their stated willingness to accept the cup that Jesus will eventually drink and to be baptized into his baptism. They did not understand it. And even if they had grasped the meaning of his words, they could hardly have imagined their implications. Since they believed that Jesus would reign in glory, they could not conceive of his humiliating and degrading suffering and death. And Jesus tells them that yes, they will drink the cup and be baptized into his baptism. But much to their chagrin, he says that the places to give are not his to give. He tells them that the ultimate issue of things belongs to God, and the final assignment of destiny is God's prerogative. And after they hear this, well, boys are going to be boys, as the saying goes. And their failed attempt at an end run around their friends aroused a deep resentment among the other 10. And immediately, The old controversy about who was the greatest began to rage. Before the situation got out of hand, however, Jesus summoned them, called them all together, and in no uncertain terms made quite clear the different standards between greatness in his kingdom and the kingdoms of the world. In the kingdoms of the world, the standard of greatness was power. And the test was, how many people does a man control? How great of an army of servants does he have at his beck and call? On how many people can he impose his will? In the kingdom of Jesus, on the other hand, the standard was that of service. Greatness consisted not in reducing others to your service, but in reducing yourself to the service of others. The test became not what service can I extract or expect, but what service can I render? And to drive home his point, Jesus points to his own example. With such powers that he had, he could have arranged his life entirely to suit himself. But he spent himself and all of his powers in the service to others. He was sent not to be served, but to serve. And there you have it. That's it. If we aspire to greatness in God's kingdom, we must serve. But we must not serve out of a sense of servitude, of subservience, but one out of the love of Christ and others. All of us can be great if we choose to be. To be servant. And to be servant is to be humble. To place ourselves after others. To place them always ahead of us. And to consciously cultivate a sense of genuine humility. To not do this is to risk becoming just like the Pharisees, who were vainglorious in their actions. They wanted always to cast a light on themselves and to degrade others. But humility, true humility, is not denigrating yourself or your worth. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. And when we are humble, we want to be servants out of the love for Christ. And when we serve one another, we are emulating our servant King. And we are saving our spot on his list of greats.